newsprint, huddled at the coffee table, close to the traffic of coffee cups and politics, an old man sits alone. His eyes see winter in his hands. They despise the blue ridges of his raised veins. Such is the cold, dry misery of age. It wasn't so long ago when he in his strength could argue with the best, when his looks turned heads. But his reasoning then had played him false. Time too, so full of its promises, so well practiced at betrayal. His young face comes to mind, mithing words from a satirical poem, mocking him his prudence, all those days and nights of denial. And so, wearied by these rehearsals of his past, he drains into a sleep, perhaps his last. This poem is called Imaginary, and it's for Lizzie Fleming. Ritke wrote of pale carnations, blossoms balanced on a single stem, leaves like elaborate Corinthian scrolls, the cool air drifting from hemlocks, rising not far from water. He brings the image to mind with a crisp hyacinthine coolness that is locked forever on the page. Yes, he brings it all to mind. All is clear as a cloudless September morning. He leaves me to imagine the fragrance. Coming as I do from that part of the world, and with my family, part of my family being Palestinian, this poem is Unholy, and it commemorates or highlights the atrocities that are happening in Gaza at the moment. And the poem is dedicated to Ilan Pappé, who is a Jewish dissident, academic and public intellectual, who is Jewish and has been cancelled by Zionists for telling the truth. And the lines in the poem are borrowed reverently from Shakespeare. It offends to the soul, all those hate-filled speeches, this war of words beyond control. With such hideous violence they let slip the dogs of war. They are tearing a world in pieces and stain it with innocent blood. It is unholy and inexplicable how they justify their methods, a madness to bomb an entire people starved and corralled in a strip of land, not tomb enough to hide the dead. To this massacre bear witness, for shame it out-Herods Herod. I grew up in Cyprus, and we're in dog days at the moment. It's 50 years at this time, 50 years ago, when the Turks, mainland Turks, invaded the island and divided it. And the country is still, technically speaking, at war. There's a ceasefire, but there hasn't been a resolution. Peace hasn't happened. So this poem is called Cyprus, a Late Afternoon, and there's some Greek, which I've been translating. Γλυκά καρπούζια, έχω καρπούζια, κόκκινο σαν το αίμα του λαού. Sometimes, when I hear the sound of a double cab pick up on the road, it winds back the ticking clock. Childhood ghosts suddenly crop up like flares in a spool of cine film. Not just the whirring sound on tarmac of hostile ferret cars on patrol, or police vans with loud hailers enforcing the curfew, but also the sound one late afternoon of a laden truck, a village vendor, his rough voice thinning and sharp over the tannoy, Sweet watermelons. I have watermelons red like the blood of the people. The noise alarms roosting birds, and the flame tree in the garden explodes. I'll finish up with a poem here called Honey and Onions, and it's in memoriam my mother, who passed away 20 years ago, and here in County Cork, and it's the anniversary of her passing. She died on the 29th of July. So. We never knew which of all her languages she would use to greet us on the day. That morning, she came into the kitchen, volunteering in Egyptian Arabic how she felt. Asl wal basal, honey and onions. Her broad vowels like swelling waves and her sibilants surfing them. Greek next. Dine afto, what is this? An Irish breakfast, we told her. I prefer mulcheia, good for the heart, she said, adding, Queen Nefertiti's beauty, her womanly strength must be attributed to that recette ancienne. She then promised fluency, clarity of thought in any language to anyone who tasted Nile water. Words flew about the kitchen that morning like flocking starlings. No, bee-eaters, more to her liking, more like her, those gregarious, iridescent fashionistas whose yellow, chuckling throats paint the sky. She thought the bee-eaters' markings were the model for Cleopatra's eyeliner. My mother, at 92, we could never be sure where she was in her mind. In lucent moments, she would ask, where am I? Come midday, the stroke quelled her breath. Our glamorous migratory bird had gone. We imagine her now to be beautiful at 22 in Paris, Beirut, Alexandria or Rome, living it up, refusing to answer the phone.